to my channel, Stitching in High Heels, where I talk about all of my adventures with various sorts of needles and thread. I'm glad you're here. If you're new, welcome. I hope you find something that you like, and you will click the subscribe button and the notification button so you find out when I'm filming new videos, when I post new videos. And if you're a returning friend, well, thank you very much for coming back. I'm so glad you're here to spend part of your day with me. Today is Saturday, May 10th. It is just before noon here in upstate New York. Lighting's going to be kind of tricky today. We've got a rainy, dark, damp day. So we'll make the best of it and go with what we've got. I wanted to film last weekend on my regular every other week schedule, or what I'm trying to make my every other week schedule. But I got involved with some cleaning and decluttering projects and just kind of ran out of time. So we will jump in here. Got a start and finish, or an SAF. I've got some whips, which are works in progress. I've got a new start, and some other things to talk about, some exciting plans and interesting things going on. So we will jump right in. So first I'm going to talk about my start and finish, which is In a Stable by Shepherd's Bush, and this is from the 2004 Just Cross Stitch issue, Christmas ornament issue. I don't know how well it's going to focus, but we'll go right there. And this is stitched 2/2 on a piece of 32 count antique buttercream, which is a very, very old silk weaver fabric. It's actually a Jobelin, not a Lugana. Had it in my stash, and it's big enough to get 2 ornaments on. So I'm pretty happy with how this came out. It's stitched with all the called for threads, and if you've been with me for other episodes, these ornaments all have a charm on them, and I did not purchase them at the time that they came out, and since I'm doing pretty much a no-buy year this year, I just took some gold Krynic number 4 and stitched a star over the top of the stable there. A lot of these ornaments I'm just not doing anything where there's a charm or doing some extra stitches. This one, because the star is an important part of this little scene, I decided to use Krynic and stitch that in there. So that's my first WhipGo call. If you're not familiar with WhipGo, WhipGo is the product of Jessie Marie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff. It's a bingo style game where you fill out a board with 25 squares. Jessie calls 2 numbers for each month, and you can work on whatever you have in those numbered squares. For me, I do all Christmas ornaments. People do whips, people do new starts, all different sorts of things. There's all sorts of variations, and as Jessie always says, your board, your rules. So I do try to stitch 2 Christmas ornaments a year. In previous years, I've also had a board where I tried to fully finish 2 ornaments a month. And I'm really going to try to stop saying just caught myself. So hopefully that's the last time for this video, right? And previous years I had done a board where I tried to fully finish 2 ornaments a month. It worked pretty well. I just have a lot going on this year, and I decided not to try to do that again. I'm going to try to get ornaments finished as I can. I have some in one of my previous videos. I think it was 2 videos ago. Some of my fully finishing, and I've got some other ideas for ornaments I want to fully finish. I just need to get going with that. So anyway, long story long, that was my start and finish. I've also been working on several of the projects that you've seen the last couple of videos, kind of finding that I'm enjoying working on these. And initially I started the year spinning a wheel every week to touch one of my works in progress, and that was fun. And then I got to these 2 projects that I really am called to work on, so I'm going to keep going with it, right? It's my year of stitching like a pirate, so no rules. We're going to stitch what we want when we want. So I've been continuing to work on Salute to Abigail, by Blackbird Designs, and here's what the photo from the book. This is in Salute to Liberty is the Blackbird Designs book that it's in, that's in current print. It was initially released as a standalone project, but then put in that book. And I'm stitching mine 2/2 on a piece of 32 count plateau linen, which is a Zweigart linen. And I went looking to get some more because I have another project that I really want to do on this, and I wanted another fat quarter. And it looks like this is out of, no longer produced, which is sad because this is a really great color. It's like a gray, beige, just a really beautiful neutral. And I am stitching this. The model is stitched with Thread Gatherer Silken Colors silks. I'm using 2 colors of Pirate and Robin cotton thread. So the blue is Belladonna, and that variegation, that's all one thread. And the red is Redstone. And then for the white, I'm doing DMC 3865. So I worked a lot down here on this big piece in the center. And as I was looking at it and getting ready to stitch it, I realized with the blue flowers and all that vine, I didn't want the variegation, and I also wanted a solid blue for when I stitch the flags that are going to come up in here. So I also selected DMC 823. So all this vine that's all one solid color, that's DMC 823, which is a pretty beautiful deep navy. And then the other thing that I just thought about was the silken Pirate and Robin thread has there's a lot of dark amongst those turquoise blues, and I didn't want all of the blue up against this blue bud here, so I stitched 1 row of threads, stitches in the white thread for each of these 2 blue carnations. Not sure I love it, but I still think I like it more than I would have if I had stitched the whole flower in the blue and had all that dark blue on dark blue. So we're going to keep it. So the other exciting thing is these bottom leaves here. These are like 4 stitches from the bottom of the pattern. So I really, this center motif is pretty big. There's a big urn style pot down there that has to be stitched, and the rest of the flowers and buds on this. But I really don't have all that much left to go. This is one of my pieces I'm stitching in honor of America's 250th anniversary as a nation, and I'd love to have it finished by Memorial Day. I'm not sure that's going to happen because I've been working on this during conference calls when I work from home. So I've made some nice progress, but the number of calls I have is starting to slow down, so that, that may fall by the wayside. And I have some other pieces that I'll show you that I'm really enjoying working on. So switching this to an evening stitch probably won't happen. But there is my version of Salute to Abigail. The other thing that's exciting is once I get that urn stitched, I'll get into some of the changes that I'm making to make this my own tribute to the semi-quincentennial. I think I finally got that term right. So that is my version of Salute to Abigail. And the other piece that I've been working on pretty steadily the last couple months is Arabesque by Jan Hicks. And I know you've seen this before. Several folks are working on this. And this is my not great printout of the cover chart because my printer was running out of ink and I haven't reprinted it. But you get a general idea of what the design looks like. The original was stitched monochromatically in a red thread. And if you want to see what it looks like, sorry, I gotta reorganize some things here. I'm gonna have a mess. There we go. If you want to see what a beautiful red version looks like, go to Laura from Stitching by the Shore, and I forget how long ago she finished it, but I started this with Laura, and I started it with Beth, the Steadfast Stitcher. Laura stitched it in red. She finished hers. It is absolutely gorgeous. I forget which hand dyer's thread she used. I'll see if I can find that episode and link it down below. Beth is stitching hers in Nile Blue by hand dyed fibers from Vicki Clayton. And I think I know she talked about it in her most recent video. She's been doing some work on it. So here is mine, and I got to get a board here to try to, it's going to be a challenge to show you the whole thing all at once. I'm stitching mine 2/2 on antique white Jovelin using Silks for You PR070, and there's another and Petite Treasure Braid PB0, I think it's 02, might be 01. They're bright gold. So there's the whole thing in April, and I know the last time I showed you I stitched this big motif down here. There's a lot of stitching in that. And now I've gone, and then I worked my way back up. I did, you know what, let me get this folded a little bit and I can show you a piece at a time here. So after I finished that big motif and the bottom work here, then I moved up and I stitched that bird there. So, and after I stitched the bird, then I did this big feathery thing in the middle. I'm not sure what that is. Kind of reminds me a little bit of a smiley face. And then finally, I came up here to the top, and now I'm working in the same place that Beth is working. I'm not sure if this is a fan or a giant flower or what it is, but I came and worked up here in the top corner. And this is another really big motif. And once I get that finished, then it's all just letters and a couple of small motifs and a little bit of border back at the bottom. So I'm going to keep going on this. I'm really enjoying stitching on this. The Silks for You silks they're so beautiful to work with. And I'm really enjoying, while it's not truly monochromatic, it's nice to have just a limited number of colors to work on. Very, very calming and soothing to work on. And then after I stitched, if you've been with me for a while, you will remember that I stitch my Whipco ornaments while I'm at work when the phones are slow. So after I finished my April Whipco calls and before I started my May Whipco calls, I worked on Be Still My Heart by Samplers Not Forgotten. And this is one of their heart kits. I know you've seen a bunch of them. There's several people working on different ones. This one is the hydrangea one. And these are great little kits. They're not terribly expensive. They come with everything you need, including the backing fabric and the edging trim. Here's where I'm at with mine. I finally finished up all of the white stitching in the hydrangea. So now I've got leaves and there's a stitched border, heart-shaped border. Been going back and forth about whether or not I am going to stitch this or not, but I think it's going to help me with finishing, so I probably will stitch that heart-shaped border in. It's just a single stitch around the design, so it shouldn't be too terrible to do. And I'm using all of the kit materials for this, which it's Weeks 36 count. It's their old base, I think. It's Confederate Gray. And then I'm not sure what the fibers are. It just lists as white, bright green, dark variegated yellow, green, gray, green. I think they're Weeks threads, but I am not sure. And I'm not sure if there's a place online to find out what these threads actually are, if you wanted to stitch this from the chart and not and don't have the kit. But that is Be Still My Heart, and I'll just show you the chart one more time here. So you can see, and you can just barely see here, that's that heart border that I'm talking about. And I really think it would be useful for finishing and getting the shape right. And I also, my last existing piece that I worked on was, I worked on this during a Zoom call for the Chatelaine October, not Chatelaine, the Queen City October retreat. And this is Miss Pink Mushroom by Nora Corbett. Get rid of the glare there. So this is where she is. I started her last October with Kelly. Kelly is Pages and Stitches, which is Pages 3 Stitches here on YouTube. And Kelly is much further on her. We decided we were going to start, each going to start one of the Mushroom Girls. Kelly started the red one. I believe she finished hers. If not, she's very, very close. And I've just been lagging on mine. I am stitching mine 2/2 on a piece of the exclusive linen from the Midsummer stitch hosted by Lindy Stitches, her virtual retreat last summer. And I believe it is called, oh, the tag is still on here, that's cool. Sepia Sorcery is the name of the fabric. And I really like how her colors work on this. So I got a whole lot more of this light tangerine color in while I was working on the Zoom. So I'm not sure why I put her down. I think I just got a bit bored. She's got a lot of block stitching in a single color, and got a bit bored with it. But I like where my progress is, and hopefully I'll be pulling her out again soon. And this fabric is just gorgeous. I'm not sure if it's still available on Lindy Stitch's website. It was dyed by Fiberlicious. Maybe Fiberlicious has it in their store too. I am completely unaware of whether it's available or not. I do also have a piece of this in 20 count Aida, and I have another Mirabilia that I'm thinking of stitching as a mini Mira on that. I'm going to have to pull the threads and see how that goes. So those were my existing whips, and my throat's a little dry. Excuse me, guys. Need a sip of coffee here. It's still morning, so coffee, not water yet. Okay, so last video I showed you guys a bunch of things that I was thinking about starting, and I asked you to contribute, and I got one answer that I really liked from Dana. Hi Dana, which was stitch them all. And I really like that idea, and probably in the next couple months, the ones that I don't start this month will indeed get started. But aside from that, Earth Dancer, Spirit Dancer got one vote, and she's definitely high on my list. And Hannah, the Okie Stitcher, she said stitch so I can hang the pair after we move later this year, and I really like that idea, and I probably will get her started. I have a really cool idea for displaying Spirit Dancer and Earth Dancer, so we'll get there. But the two that were tied were to start the two Mirabilia fairies that I want to stitch together on one piece, and Mermaid of the Pearls. So I decided that I was going to start them both. So I'm kind of inadvertently playing along with the Mirabilia May theme that you may see some places, or Mirabilia Mania. So not really intentional, but it's kind of working out that way, which, given my love of Mirabilia and Nora Corbett charts, really isn't a huge surprise. So to remind you, the two fairies are Petal Fairy, and there she is, and Bliss Fairy. So what I'm doing is, let's see if I can hold them up. I'm stitching them this way. No, I'm not. I'm stitching them this way so that they face each other, and their flowers and stems form kind of a heart shape. So I'm having a little bit of question, but I'm going to go with it because the greens in the stems are very different, but they do go with the fairies themselves, so I'm hoping it's going to look okay. I started Petal Fairy, finally sat down and did the math to make sure I've got them placed correctly on the fabric, and ready to go. And I started Petal Fairy because she is a little bit taller than Bliss Fairy, and I want to get her stitched, and then I want to match the height of the flowers, and as the stem curves down, it'll be a little bit shorter on Bliss Fairy, but it'll still kind of make the shape that I'm looking for. So I'm stitching this 2/2, here's my start, on a piece of Coral Garden Lugana, dyed by Amy at Oak Crown Studios. And I'd been looking for a piece of fabric to do this, and as soon as I saw this fabric from Amy, I was like, oh, that's perfect. And I was going to get it in a 32 count, and she brought this to show me at the first Queen City Stitch Retreat. She wasn't a vendor, but she brought this to show me, and I decided I was just going to go with 28 count. And thinking about it, since the holes shrink a little bit on hand-dyed linens, it's probably a wise choice. So here's where I'm at. I started with the bottom stems on this. I only stitched on it one night, started it this Thursday, and it worked pretty quickly. And I've got 2 more colors of green to get into those stems, and then right along here, her shoes are going to start. So I'm getting to her pretty quickly. So aside from her skirt with all the lily petals in it, there's not a whole lot of dense stitching on this. Her wings aren't huge, so I'm hopeful that these will go pretty quickly. And I really see that once I kind of get arabesque to a point where it's either finished or I really don't want to work on it anymore and put it aside for a little bit, probably will pull these out, or we'll see. We'll talk about the other start that I'm going to do in plans, which is kind of where we're at now. So that was my most recent start. And then the other piece we were talking about was Mermaid of the Pearls, and here she is. She is Nora's very first mermaid that she designed. The chart number, and she's early. She is MD26. Unfortunately, I do believe she is out of print, so you would have to find her on the secondary market. But she's pretty, and I have fabric. My original idea was to do her, the Queen Mermaid, and Deepest Love. And I have the other 2 stitched, and I was going to do all 3 of them together on the same fabric, which I have, and frame them similarly and hang them together as a grouping. That is still my plan. Of course, Nora has gone on to design many other mermaids, so they won't match on fabric, but I plan on stitching quite a few more mermaids. So maybe I'll have a mermaid wall somewhere if I have room. But that's Mermaid of the Pearls, so I'll be starting her. I don't know if I'm going to start her this week, but I will get a start on her before my next video. My other planned start is my other WIPCO call, which is from the year 2000 Just Cross Stitch Ornament magazine. And ironically, this is how I'm finding I'm doing a Mira May. It is this ornament. Hold on, my magazine is in rough shape. It wasn't glued together well, so I don't want to mangle it a little bit. But it's this ornament right here, which is simply called 2000. I know there's some glare. Here, some flowers, some fruit. And that was designed by Nora Corbett of Mirabilia for that ornament issue as well. So there you have it. 3 Mirabilia starts for the month of May. And who knows, maybe Miss Pink Mushroom will see a little bit of time as well. And my other plan is Laura from Stitching by the Shore hosts artist trading card swaps. She does 3 or 4 a year, and they're a lot of fun. I haven't had time to participate in the last 2 despite my plans, but she did a video a couple days ago with the information for the summer swap. If you're not familiar, an artist trading card is a 2.5 by 3.5 card that you can use mixed media, do stitching, you put a design on there, and they're kind of small samples of an artist's work is kind of what they are. And Laura Laura swaps work really well. What she does is she announces a theme, which the summer theme for this year is Under the Sea. You interpret that however you like. You put together a 2.5 by 3.5 piece of work, or more than one if you want to submit more than one. We all send them to Laura. Laura coordinates. She does great videos showing everyone's work. You can, I think she has a playlist of them if you're interested. And then she mixes and matches and sends them back out. So when we mail her the cards, we also mail a self-addressed stamped envelope, and they come back. I'm not sure what she does with international folks, so if you're outside of the U.S., just reach out to her or watch her video. She may cover it in her video. So the summer theme is Under the Sea, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. And the mailing date is June 26th. So you've got quite a bit of time. These are small pieces. I've got probably more ideas than I know what to do with already swirling around in my head. So I hope to get at least one card and participate this time. So that's another plan. That's it for plans. And, so the 2000 ornament, let me back up a little bit here. So the Nora Corbett ornament, so here's, I'm using just a piece of plain, you can't really see it, it's opalescent in plain white, and, oops, going the wrong way. There's all my threads for it, all the pretty colors. So I think this is a scrap of linen. I think it's 32 count. I think it might be left over from the Biscornu that I stitched as table gifts for last year's Queen City Stitch Retreat. It's going to be a little bigger than I usually like for ornaments, but that's okay. I thought about doing it over one, but on 20 count or 22 count to cut down on the sides. But if you, hold on, sorry guys. If you look here, it's got back stitching with the year on there. And I don't know how, I think even one strand of thread, doing it over one on 20 count or 22 count would be way too bulky and wouldn't work well. So I'm going to do it 2 over 2 on this linen. But this brings me to something I kind of wanted to discuss with you guys and get your thoughts on. So I'm really finding that I enjoy having my threads on thread drops. I've always been, historically put my thread on bobbins, and it was great for storage. But once I started going to thread drops, and I'm using it, a suggestion that Amy, the Gable Stitcher, put out there and said that she does. So she takes thread drops, and she's got punches, so she'll take like old cereal boxes, cards, that kind of thing, and make thread drops out of that. I do happen to have, I did purchase some of the Access Commodities thread drops. Anyway, she pulls a couple strands when she starts a project and, has her threads there. And it saves her from having multiple bobbins of the same color by, throwing bobbins in individual projects. So I really like that, and I really like the fact that, these are cut to length. They're all cut to 18 inches, and I can just go pull a thread out of here really easily, double it up, do my loop start, and start stitching, rather than having to pull it off the bobbin, pull a strand out, rewind it, that kind of thing. And ideally, I'm thinking I would like to switch from bobbins to thread drops for my master set of DMC. I have, over the course of my stitching time, collected a master set of DMC on bobbins, and I have a full set in skeins that I keep. I keep at least two skeins of each color. Lots of colors. I have more because back in the day when AC Moore and Michaels would sell DMC 5 or 6 for $1, I would kit up entire projects and buy full skeins for each project. I have so many skeins of Mirabilia and Told in a Garden thread colors that it's not funny. that way. You know, so I've got more thread than I'm ever going to use for certain shades, but it does help. You know, when I want to kit something up, I know I've got the DMC. So I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but my thought is that I would eventually like to move to storing my master set on thread drops. And I would probably buy the acrylic thread drops for that. Keep using, you know, cardstock ones or the pretty ones from like Cottage Cat, you know, Potty Mouth Stitcher, her shop for projects because that's fun and they're pretty. But to hold up, I would probably move to acrylic thread drops for my master set. But how do I store them? How do I store them so they don't, you know, they don't get tangled? Right now, I don't have the option of hanging them on a pegboard or a wall. I've talked before. Sorry about that, guys. The battery died on my camera, so I'm hoping this last bit will re-record. So talking about thread drops and trying to move to acrylic thread drops for my master set of DMC. So just wanted to know if you guys use thread drops for your master colors, or if you just leave your threads on thread drops. How do you store them? How do you keep them from getting tangled? If you, like I said, ultimately I would love to have kind of like a thread wall, or you know, to have pegs to hang them on, to be able to easily access them. I think that would take up a lot less room than anything else. But for now, since we're planning on moving by the end of the year, I don't want to say I don't want to set anything like that up now. I don't think it's practical to do that. So, just looking for your thoughts. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you do. If you just, you know, use your threads project by project. If you don't have a master set, you just buy what you need. Let me know. I'm curious to see what options are out there. Knowing that we're also downsizing when we move, space is going to be a consideration, and I do admit my bobbins in, you know, the plastic boxes with the compartments, they don't take up a whole lot of room. So I have some thoughts, but I'd like to hear what you guys have to say, because I would like to start moving to the thread drop storage system. And I think that's it for, Happy Mail. Yeah, so I was lucky enough to be picked for a giveaway from Erin at Fairy Tales and French Knots. If you're not watching Erin, go check her out. Her videos are generally right around 30-40 minutes. I love her tagline of, she talks just long enough for her family to wonder what she's doing, but not too long that you can't watch her videos on your lunch hour, which is pretty cool. And I like Erin. I followed her blog for years and then found that she did a FlossTube, which is great. So anyway, she was giving away one of these little travel jewelry boxes that she had transformed into a stitching kit. And my camera's not going to pick up on it. It's this really cool, wavy, not psychedelic because it's not sparkly, but this really cool wavy design on the outside. And it's, I don't know, it's about 4 inches square, and it closes with a zipper. So this is really cool. And then what Erin did, let me show you the inside. She lined it with this really cool space-themed fabric, top and bottom. And then she included this little pair of snips, which are great to have in a travel case. And they fit right in this little side compartment here. She put in a thread ring, which is always good to have as well, and a needle minder, which is really cool and really goes with this. So thank you very much, Erin. I will link her channel down below. You guys go check her out. She stitches a variety of things, and she has some really great finishing ideas too, things that she's done. So definitely check her out. Like I said, I will link her below. So that's pretty much it, guys. I'm back again. I totally forgot. I want to do a Pass the Stash giveaway with you guys. So I'm not sure if you guys, well, if you've been with me, you remember that this spring I stitched Hedgehog and Hyacinth by the Blue Flower. And I'm not going to stitch it again. And as I was discussing previously, we're hoping to move by the end of the year, so destashing things that I'm not going to stitch again is kind of a priority. So I decided that I'm going to pass this along to someone who wants it, and I'm going to include the cottage garden threads, the 3 shades of cottage garden threads that go along with it. I've got plenty of threads in my collection. Let me hold them up here. And, you know, I might as well pass them along with the chart because they really do make the chart fun, especially this brown color for the hedgehog. So if you're interested, use the word flower. Let's use flower. Flower. So these skeins of thread, they are opened. The only bits that are missing from them are what it took me to stitch the piece. And I will throw that in with the chart and share it to whomever. So I have to ask that you please be 18, since I have to ask for your address. Don't use the word giveaway. Don't, none of those words, giveaway, free, anything that's going to attract a troll or a bot. Leave a comment down below. Use the word flower. You don't have to use a sentence. I would love it if you would be a subscriber. And this isn't going to be terribly heavy, so I will send it anywhere. So go ahead and leave a comment if you're interested in stitching this. And it's for the chart and the threads. So I think I'm really done now. I'm going to edit this back together. So keep stitching, stitch things that make you happy. I know it's crazy times all over, but stitch what you love and what keeps you happy. Life-wise, like I said, I've been going with the flow of getting some decluttering done. I spent a lot of time on that last week, kind of paperwork decluttering. I've wanted for a long time to get some files scanned and into digital format, so I was taking care of that. Just took more time than I thought, but needed to be done, so that's good. So we're working towards that, stalking Zillow, looking at houses, hoping to get to Eastern Tennessee before the end of the year. So work has been a little bit crazy, a few changes going on there. The company I work for, there's people in upper management retiring, so kind of some excitement / nervousness about what's going to happen there. There are replacements coming in. One of them would be my department head, not the person I report to. I report to my boss, who reports to that person, so that'll be interesting. And then our chief operating officer has announced that he's going to be retiring as well. Again, not a lot of direct input into my work life, but it's somebody that I have worked with for 40 years. We worked together at the first cable company I worked for, and he was instrumental in hiring me to get me into my current company. So we'll see what that brings. Could be exciting, could be scary, probably a little bit of both, a little bit hectic, but we're going to go with it. And personally, the weather here in upstate New York has not been great. We're chomping at the bit to get out with our motorcycles. We've only had a chance to ride once. My youngest nephew will be graduating from high school in June. He's playing his last year of varsity baseball. So I've been getting to as many games of his as I can. So that's taken up some stitching time too, but definitely worth the experience. He's a pretty decent player. He will be playing in college. He's going to a Division II school, so he'll be playing there. And other than that, that's it. Just kind of keeping on. So, other than rambling, I will cut this off. I'm going to let my camera recharge. I'm going to try to load up and make sure that I'm recording this last bit. So I will say so long for now. See you soon. Love ya.